In February 2013, a 21-year-old traveler named Elisa Lam was recorded inside an elevator at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. The footage shows her pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and repeatedly looking into the hallway as if reacting to something beyond the camera's view. Her behavior does not follow a normal pattern of movement. There is hesitation, sudden changes in direction, and moments where she appears to be waiting for something. What makes this footage disturbing is not only her behavior, but what is missing from it. No other person appears in the frame, no one enters the elevator, no shadow crosses the doorway. And yet, Elisa reacts as if she is not alone. This recording would later become the last confirmed sighting of her alive, and one of the most analyzed surveillance videos in modern true crime. Some explanations point to older cultural narratives. There are historical accounts, often debated, about practices during periods of extreme hardship where individuals were left in remote areas when resources were scarce. Whether fully accurate or partially symbolic, these stories contribute to the perception of certain places as sites connected to abandonment and finality. She checked into the Cecil Hotel, a building located in downtown Los Angeles. The hotel had a long and complex history, including previous incidents involving crime and unexplained events. Despite this, it continued to operate as a budget accommodation for travelers. Elisa was initially placed in a shared room, but due to complaints from other guests about unusual behavior, she was later moved to a private room. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Elisa remained active online. She shared observations about her trip, commented on her surroundings, and documented her thoughts. Nothing in her posts suggested fear or a specific threat. Her writing showed curiosity and reflection, consistent with someone traveling alone and exploring new environments. Hotel staff later described her as polite, but occasionally unpredictable. There were reports that her behavior had moments of instability, though not necessarily alarming enough to trigger intervention. These early details are important because they establish a baseline. There was no confirmed conflict, no reported confrontation, and no clear external factor pointing to immediate danger. The elevator footage marks a clear shift from normal behavior to something more difficult to interpret. Elisa enters the elevator and begins pressing multiple floor buttons in quick succession. Instead of selecting a single destination, she appears to activate several floors at once. The elevator doors remain open longer than expected, as if the system is being interrupted. She steps outside the elevator briefly, looks down the hallway, then quickly returns inside. Her movements suggest uncertainty, but not panic. She repeats this pattern, moving between the inside and outside of the elevator. This sequence introduces a key question: what is causing this hesitation, and why does she appear to be reacting to something that is not visible? As the footage continues, Elisa's behavior becomes increasingly difficult to categorize. She stands against the wall, then suddenly moves toward the control panel again. She presses more buttons, sometimes in rapid succession, without waiting for a response. Her posture changes from relaxed to guarded, as if she is trying to avoid being seen. At one point, she leans out of the elevator and begins making hand gestures into the hallway. These gestures are irregular, with movements that do not clearly correspond to a typical conversation. There is no visible person in front of her, yet her actions suggest interaction. This is one of the most debated moments in the footage, because it introduces the possibility of perception without confirmation. After several moments of erratic movement, Elisa exits the elevator and walks out of frame. The camera does not capture her destination. The elevator doors eventually close, and the recording continues without interruption. From that point forward, there is no confirmed footage showing her location inside the hotel. In the days following her disappearance, Elisa is officially reported missing. Her personal belongings remain in her room, including items she would normally carry with her. There is no indication that she planned to leave the hotel. Staff begin to notice her absence, but there is no immediate explanation. At the same time, hotel guests begin to complain about the water supply. They report unusual characteristics, including discoloration, an unusual taste, and a noticeable odor. These complaints are initially treated as maintenance issues, but they continue to increase, prompting further investigation by hotel staff. When hotel staff inspect the rooftop water tanks, they make a discovery that changes the entire case. Inside one of the tanks, they find Elisa Lam. The location is not easily accessible, requiring entry to a restricted rooftop area and physical effort to reach the tank itself. The condition of the tank and its position raise immediate questions. How did she reach the roof? How did she access the tank? And why? Was there no record of her movement after leaving the elevator? These questions become central to the investigation, as the physical reality of the discovery does not align easily with the available footage. Authorities begin a detailed investigation, focusing on both the footage and the structure of the building. They review surveillance recordings, examine access points, and analyze the layout of the hotel. The goal is to reconstruct a continuous path from the elevator to the rooftop. However, the investigation encounters limitations. Not all areas are fully covered by cameras. Some access points may not have been recorded, or footage may not have been preserved. Despite these efforts, there is no definitive visual evidence showing Elisa reaching the roof or entering the tank. Several elements of the case remain difficult to reconcile. The elevator footage suggests unusual behavior, but does not show any external threat. The rooftop location requires access that is not clearly documented. The timeline between the last sighting and the discovery is incomplete. These inconsistencies create multiple interpretations. Each explanation accounts for certain details, but fails to explain others. This lack of alignment between evidence and outcome is what keeps the case unresolved, even after extensive investigation. The video of Elisa Lam in the elevator continues to be viewed and analyzed years later. It presents a sequence that begins with clarity and ends with uncertainty. Every movement is recorded, every action visible. Yet the most important part, the transition from presence to disappearance, remains unexplained. The video of Elisa Lam in the elevator continues to be viewed and analyzed years later. It presents a sequence that begins with clarity and ends with uncertainty. Every movement is recorded, every action visible. Yet the most important part, the transition from presence to disappearance, remains unexplained. Certain moments appeared slowed down. The exact timeline inside that elevator was never fully transparent. This raises a question that goes beyond Elisa's behavior. Was something removed from the footage? Or was it altered to hide something that should not be seen? Because in that short clip, there are seconds that don't feel complete, movements that don't fully connect, and reactions that seem to respond to something just outside the frame. Elisa Lam entered that elevator alone. That is the only thing the camera can confirm. but the way she moved, the way she looked into the hallway, and the way she reacted suggests a presence that was never captured. What happened after she stepped out of that elevator is still unknown. The footage provides a starting point, but not a conclusion. And in cases like this, it is often the missing part of the story that leaves the strongest impression. Because sometimes, what is not seen becomes far more disturbing than what is.